welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Welcome to Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast. I am Jessica. I will be hosting you today, and I am here with the author Lana Ferguson, who wrote The Fake Mate, which is super fun. It's a super fun take on the fake dating rom-com trope. It is extremely spicy. It's got werewolves. It's got work drama. I loved it. So I'm going to actually welcome Lana. Thank you so much for coming here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your writing, like how you got into writing, and let's talk The Fake Mate.
Oh gosh, the dreaded "tell us about yourself" question.
You can make stuff up. We'll have no idea. You are 7 feet tall and you have wings.
I'm not. I'm like a hobbit size. I'm literally 5'1", so I can't even lie about it. I'm like a hobbit. So there's not a lot interesting about me outside of the fact that I write super spicy novels. I crossword a lot. I thrift shop a lot. I'm basically like an old woman in a 30-year-old body. So honestly, gosh, I was like, do I need to make up things about myself? I don't know.
Listen, I will. We can say anything you want. Are you a werewolf?
A burning bill. No, I wish I was, because I have a lot more fun.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would make me a lot more intimidating than I am. So The Fake Mate, I loved writing this book. Like you said, it is like a super contemporary kind of spin on shifter novels. I really wanted to do like, just like most shifter novels to me like are very more like fantasy driven. There's usually like some espionage, there's like secret societies, and I was like, I want to do it but make it like a little bit more silly. So like I said, the work drama, and so it's like these werewolves, but instead of like them having to hide, like everybody knows about them. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I think that really takes, it sort of like takes a lot of, I don't want to say I like werewolves. I like werewolf novels. Obviously, as I just admitted, I would love to be one. It sounds like it is super fun. But at the same time, sometimes when you watch or read too much of something, it starts to feel, I think, a little cold and intangible, and sometimes you just want to read something that's sort of a supernatural story, but it feels grounded, and this did, in the way that, everybody knows that there are werewolves, that there are shifters, and they have their society, they have their different lives, and they work together with humans, and sometimes they get together for some super spicy stuff. But one thing I thought was really funny was just like you had such good dialogue in this, between Mackenzie and Noah, between Mackenzie and her co-workers and her grandmother. It was just a super fun story. So, like, where did these characters begin for you is my first question.
So this book, it's so funny. This book actually went through four different like plot changes, because I think this book actually started out as I don't think I've ever said this before, but this book started out as a waking up in Vegas story. I know that sounds like completely off the wall.
What? Are we gonna get that version of it?
I don't even think I have like enough time in the day to tell you how it ended up there. But basically Mackenzie and Noah started in that stories, and then like I was trying to take like bits and pieces of like their dynamic make a story that I would want to like pitch with, I guess. And then when I got the idea to make, like, when I got the green light basically to write a shifter novel, then I started like, well, what kind, I wanted it to be fake dating and I wanted it to be a workplace. So I went through teachers. I went through what was, they had another, there was another one I went through, and then I landed on doctors because I was like, that would be kind of a fun spin because like they're doctors, they obviously know everything about like the anatomy of one another, but having never experienced it personally, since they're like, cosmic counterparts or whatever, I thought that would be kind of fun. Plus it gave me the excuse to write a grumpy smart doctor who's like super smart but also kind of socially inept, which I love.
Yeah, I got that from Noah, and he was super super fun to read in so many ways, and
Baby. He's a big grumpy baby.
he is a big grumpy baby, but he's a big grumpy sexy baby.
Yes. I love an awkward man. I don't know where it comes from, but I will take an awkward bumbling man that's still like, 6'5" and hot over an alpha male any day. I don't know what that says about me.
Well, that's funny you say that because so in the werewolf community, Noah is what's considered an alpha, and that kind of, yeah, so that plays into this story. So like, yeah, he's an alpha, but his personality isn't alpha male. And I know there's a lot to that. So I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Oh no, I'm happy. I did do that kind of on purpose. Like I wanted to kind of subvert that alpha male trope because he's expected to be one thing, but basically you're given something entirely different. I joke all the time that Mac might be an omega, but she is definitely the alpha of the relationship. She's only an omega in the bedroom.
Well, for sure. I mean, I was reading this and I was like, wait a second.
Right. And plus, that it's a big part of it that he's never really experienced. I mean, he's been on what in this universe they have what they call suppressants that literally suppresses that part of their nature. So I mean, he's been on these most of his adult life trying to hide this designation. So he's never really experienced, and you kind of get that with the book, like him experiencing like this possessiveness for the first time, this like intense hunger for the first time. So he's kind of figuring himself out too, but it's just not part of his nature, I guess, like inherently to be like an alpha hole is what I would call him.
So first of all, again, before we get into any more, one of the things that I really, like I mentioned before, I really enjoyed a lot of the dialogue in this story. And okay, so Jessica from radiology, what's her deal?
Oh my gosh. So that started out as like a total, like a nothing, basically. And I mentioned it once and I was like, that'll just be it. But then I kept having fun, like putting her back in there. And I was like, there's always, like, I don't care where you work, there is always that one person that always has the gossip. Like, they know more about what's going on in your life than you do, it feels like. So I just thought it would be really funny to kind of have her like reappearing through the story. And then it turns out, she's not even doing it maliciously. She's like a big fan. I don't know. It was just kind of like a funny little haha moment that I could not stop myself from adding in multiple times.
It was fun. And again, like you said, like who doesn't have that in their workplace? It was just a joy to read. So I do want to ask, this is a romance and it is very, very spicy. Man, how did you turn the heat up so much? Like, are you a reader of romance? I mean, really, it was just wow.
So I have been reading romance since like early teen years, and I don't know if I want to say I've always been fascinated by like written sex scenes, but I have all always voraciously consumed them. I don't know. Again, I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I and I also don't know like what the rating of this podcast is, but
well, I mean, it's
it's PG.
I would say PG-13. Let's say PG-13.
Okay. Basically, I'm just kind of a horny person in general. I don't know. It's like I have that part of my brain. So those are the most fun and honestly the most easy parts of the book for me to write. I don't know why. I wish I could explain it. But I love writing sex scenes. I guess because there's such an expectation for women in general to not really enjoy that kind of content. I mean, it's getting better as the years go by, but there's still that stigma there. And so I kind of love just being really in your face about what I like in that regard. And so this kind of gives me an outlet for that.
I think that though, like most of the spicy novels, that people are really consuming, they're written by women. And
And that's amazing to me. And it's like that's
yeah,
another conversation that I have had multiple times. Like the amount of erotic material that's available that's actually good is almost always written by a woman. Or and I think that there's something to that. But
yeah.
that's a different conversation.
No, it's fine because it is very interesting because you do say that in general, the stigma has been one way for a while. And I know people I know people are really enjoying these books. So yeah. So do you have a favorite character? Did you prefer writing from Mackenzie's or Noah's point of view more?
Um,
And would you come back to these characters ever?
so I think my favorite probably would be Parker because I am Parker. I'm kind of I'm kind of always the grumpy friend that's like, I'll do it, but I'm gonna complain about it. And also has no idea how to comfort their friends. But I love writing male POV. I don't care which book of it is that of mine. I always prefer writing in the male POV. And if I had to like dissect that, I would probably say because I get the chance to write like a man in his thoughts the way that I wish a man like was and thought. Not that they don't exist, but you know what I mean? Like my ideal man. I get to be in his head and basically
Absolutely. And it's fulfilling.
it is like it gives me hope, that there are men out there like that. And so that I always love writing in a male POV. And as far as coming back to them, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I had actually planned this to be a 3-part series. Um, I wanted to write 2 more books in this universe about other couples. Um, I think it's kind of dependent on if there's a want for those at this point, but maybe someday.
So when you read, do you read exclusively romance yourself, or do you kind of venture out into different genres?
Honestly, rarely. I'm pretty much a romance girly. Like I like the butterflies and the heart racing. I'll enjoy an occasional thriller every once in a while. But other than that, no, normally I'm always reading romance if I'm getting to read at all. I don't get to read for fun much anymore, but when I am, it's almost always romance.
Did you have a favorite scene or a favorite piece of dialogue to write in The Fake Mate?
I don't know if I don't know, again, don't know what it says about me, but I loved writing the cheesy doctor role play scene.
Oh my God, that was great.
I love it so much because I was like, this is gonna come off as such like a 70s porn trope. But I was like, you know what? Let's lean into it. Mackenzie totally seems like the type.
But I think that that's one of the things that made this such a fun story to read. I think that, and especially like when you're writing something as, I guess, like that is a workplace hospital love story between two shifters. Like you're having fun already. Let's just lean completely into it. And I think that, scenes like that just kind of add to that fun. I mean,
I mean,
it's like when,
how can you have like a Grey's Anatomy vibes book without having some hospital shenanigans?
you can't.
Was my thought. But I really love writing sex scenes that aren't I mean, I like writing them obviously with the point of just being steamy, but I also like writing them sometimes just like where they can have silly moments because I feel like that's more real. Because sex is obviously not perfect every single time. And I feel like real couples are always experiencing there's laughter, there's mess ups, there's awkward moments, and sometimes I like to include that.
So another thing I just also wanted to mention or ask to just kind of chat about again is so the whole idea, like the whole ABO universe, how would you describe it to somebody just coming into it?
So I have a friend that I've been trying to convert forever. She was mentioned in my dedication. She still won't read this book, but the way that I have tried to describe it is it's very primal. Like, yes, they don't, because I mean I've read ABO and Omega Verse that's obviously not shifter, which so they're all just human with these instincts. So I describe it as very like animalistic. They've got these urges that are animalistic, but without necessarily all the time being animals themselves. Now, in this case, they are shifters, so that has a little bit of like added explanation to it all. But um, basically, I would say that it's just characters that are may or may not be like animals, but they have those urges, like those primal urges from that we might have had at one point in life that they're still dealing with them in every day, like with the sense and the instincts. And sometimes even I've read shifter novels where they have like the heightened hearing and sound and um plus knots. I mean, I always have to explain a knot, which is my favorite part.
Go for it.
Oh my gosh. No, so when I tried to explain it to my friend, she said like a dog. And I was like, okay, but it's sexier than that. And she's like, I don't see how. But I know in the book they talk about, it's at one point in time it was to ensure conception because it would literally lock the couple together to help aid in conception, which now it's just a nice full sensation.
The novel, it's part of the story, and I think it's something that has become more spoken about lately, especially in werewolf themed romance. And it's a trope that I think a lot of people enjoy now. And so I'm curious because this is the first time I believe that I've seen it in like a published novel as opposed to like fan fiction, for instance. um that I think I'm wondering how how often you do get asked about it, or you had been asked about it when writing this book.
So honestly, I did have to explain it to half the people that because a lot of the people I let read this book while I was writing it, one of them was an RN friend to help me with a lot of the hospital stuff, and she had no idea. So having her, like, I would try to like limit it as much as I could. I would give her just the scenes that had a lot of medical jargon, and she would be like, okay, but what is this about? Why is he sniffing her neck? So I would have to give her. I remember my publicist and my marketing agent, they had no idea. Like, they basically, my publicist was finally like, listen, can you give me like a guide to the Omega verse? So I had to like write her up a little like page of explanations, and I attached like some diagrams that I found on Tumblr. um but the thing is, I am hard pressed to find someone who's like introduced to this. I mean, they exist. Some people will see this and they're like, "Ooh, no." But most of the people that give it a chance, I have often seen that they've embraced it pretty fully, because there's something about that, like that primal sense at like the edge to the romance. Like, it's not just he wants you, but he's got to have you, but not necessarily in a like possessive alpha whole way. Like, it's like the highest version of you complete me, I guess.
I mean, again, I thought that Noah was just a really well written character in that way. And I loved just that their personalities turned everything on its head when it comes to that. You keep hearing that this guy's an alpha and like he's a big guy and but like his personality is just, it's like you said, like it's flipped.
Yeah, and everybody at the hospital calls him the boogeyman and they're all scared of him, but it turns out it's just because he is not good with people. And most of the rumors surrounding him are, as he would say, grossly over exaggerated.
So I guess one more question is the names of the characters. How did you come up with the names?
So I do this for every single book. I figure out their ages first, and then which would lead me to their birthday, and then I Google baby names from that year, and I basically just go through and pick ones that I like. And I also have what I call the moan test. Like, because if the name doesn't moan well, then I don't want to give it to a character. So
that is amazing. I have never, actually, to be honest with you, I don't think I've heard the baby name thing before. I have heard that people will go through like newspaper articles and see like what the popular names were in that time period. But that's pretty cool. But also the moan test, I like that. That's nice. That's different.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not going to name any names at all because I don't want there to be a book out there with a name that I might not moan. But I mean, if you have like a crazy like old man name, like and then you're reading like a really spicy scene and she's breathing it in his ear.
Like Murray. No offense, Murray.
Oh, yeah, I know. So I just try that is more important to me than getting it like yearly accurate to their birthday is making sure it's moanable.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Are you working on another book at the moment? Not in this universe, or you can't say?
Oh no, I just announced the cover for my next book, which comes out next summer. It's a hockey romance. It's like brother's best friend, friends to lovers kind of vibe. But right now I'm drafting another paranormal, which is a Loch Ness romance.
A Loch Ness romance?
It is a Loch Ness romance.
Whoa!
It's very like, it's almost starting to lean kind of into like fantasy light. Like there is magic and there's, curses and a lot of elements like that are they're turning out really fun to play with.
Would you ever write something that's more, do you think, more supernatural and lighter on the romance, or you feel most people sticking to this?
I don't know. It's not really. I don't know if I would say it was more comfortable. I just don't know if I'm interested. Like I love writing romance. So I think anything I write, like I keep hounding the Berkeley account on Threads that I'm going to make them let me write a thriller romance at one point.
Ooh, that sounds great. Well, I want to thank you so much. It's super, super fun to talk to you. When is this book out?
December 5th. So
okay.
Very, very soon.
Very nice. Well, run to your local library, put it on hold, order it from your favorite bookshop, and definitely bring a fainting couch and a glass of water, because this is a spicy, spicy book. And check out The Fake Mate, and the Nanny is your other book, right?
Yes, that was my debut.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Lana Ferguson. Once again, this was Jessica from Syosset Public Library's Turn the Page podcast, and we are going to close this chapter.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.